My dear brothers and sisters, how many of you walked into 2026 carrying a heart that is exhausted, not from lack of success, but from lack of peace? A heart that smiles on the outside but feels heavy in sujud. A heart that keeps going, yet feels distant from Allah and from itself. We fixed our schedules, our careers, our bodies, our goals, but we neglected the one thing Allah looks at first, the heart. And let me tell you something with love, no amount of achievement will heal a heart that is disconnected from its creator. Tonight is not about doing more. It is about returning to a heart that is alive, soft, and anchored in Allah. Because when the heart is fixed, everything else begins to fall into place. A tired heart is not weak. It is calling you back to Allah. We have been taught to fear exhaustion, to label it as failure, to rush to silence it with noise, productivity, and constant movement. But the heart was never meant to be numb. When it becomes tired, it is not betraying you. It is speaking to you. It is telling you that something essential has been neglected. Allah did not create the heart to run endlessly without nourishment. He created it to remember Him, to rest in Him, to draw strength from Him. When the heart grows weary, it is often because it has been surviving on everything except what it truly needs. Many people think a strong heart is one that never breaks, never questions, never slows down. But the strongest hearts in our tradition were the ones that trembled before Allah, the ones that cried in the night, the ones that felt deeply. The Prophet carried the heaviest responsibilities, yet his heart would turn to Allah constantly, seeking comfort, seeking reassurance, seeking closeness. A heart that feels tired is not a heart that has lost faith. It is often a heart that still cares, that still longs, that still remembers what it was created for. We live in a time where exhaustion is normalized. Emotional fatigue, spiritual dryness, inner emptiness are brushed off as just part of life. You are told to push through, to stay busy, to distract yourself. But the heart cannot be fooled forever. It knows when it has been distanced from its source. Just as the body weakens without food, the heart weakens without remembrance. And when the heart weakens, it does not scream, it sighs. It sends you feelings of restlessness, heaviness, dissatisfaction, even when things seem fine on the surface. A tired heart often belongs to someone who has been giving more than they have been receiving, pouring into the dunya while neglecting the akhirah. It belongs to someone who prays but does not feel present, who makes dua but feels distant, who knows Allah is there but feels far away. This tiredness is not rejection from Allah, it is mercy. It is Allah gently shaking your heart, reminding you that you were not created to carry life alone. Allah, in His wisdom, allows the heart to feel tired so that it may soften. Because a softened heart turns back. A heart that has never been tired often becomes arrogant, self-sufficient, forgetful. But a tired heart knows its need. It knows it cannot rely on itself. It knows it must return. That return, even if it begins with confusion and tears, is beloved to Allah. Sometimes the heart becomes tired because it has been holding on for too long. Holding on to expectations, to disappointments, to unresolved pain, to comparisons, to guilt. We carry wounds we never bring to Allah, and we wonder why the heart feels heavy. Allah invites you to bring it all. Not the polished version of yourself, not the strong version, but the honest one. The heart was never meant to be a storage place for unspoken grief. It was meant to be a place of sujud. When the heart is tired, it often means it has been seeking validation from creation instead of the Creator. It has been chasing approval, recognition, love from people who are limited, forgetful, and imperfect. And every time it reaches out and comes back empty, it grows more exhausted. Allah never intended for your heart to find its worth in people. He intended it to find its worth in being known by Him. A tired heart is often the result of spiritual imbalance. Too much dunya, not enough akhira. Too much noise, not enough silence. Too much scrolling, not enough reflection. Too many voices, not enough Quran. The heart is overwhelmed, not because life is too hard, but because Allah has been placed on the margins instead of the center. And the heart knows this, even if the mind keeps justifying it. Allah speaks about hearts in the Quran because the heart is the place of understanding, not just emotion. When the heart is tired, it is often confused, unable to see clearly, unable to prioritize properly. It feels scattered. Returning to Allah brings clarity. Dhikr aligns the heart. Salah reorganizes the chaos inside. The Quran steadies what has been shaking. A tired heart does not need harsher discipline. It needs gentleness. Allah is al-Latif, the most gentle, and He deals with hearts with a mercy we often forget to extend to ourselves. When you feel spiritually drained, Allah is not asking you why you are weak. He is inviting you to come closer. He is opening a door you may have been too busy to notice. Many people wait to return to Allah until they feel strong again. But Allah wants you as you are. Tired, confused, uncertain, even frustrated. The heart does not heal before returning, it heals by returning. Every step toward Allah, no matter how small, is met with immense mercy. A whispered dua, a distracted prayer, a tear you do not fully understand. Allah sees all of it. A tired heart often feels ashamed of its inconsistency, its doubts, its lack of motivation. But shame that pushes you away from Allah is not from Him. Allah does not humiliate the hearts that turn back. He honors them. He loves the servant who comes to Him broken more than the one who comes thinking they are complete. Sometimes Allah allows the heart to become tired so that false attachments fall away, so that you realize what truly matters, so that you stop relying on what cannot last, so that you recognize that peace was never in control, achievements, or people, but in surrender. The heart resists at first, because surrender feels like loss, but it is actually release. A heart that has never felt tired has never been tested deeply, and a heart that has been tested deeply has the potential to be incredibly close to Allah. The prophets, the righteous, the sincere believers all knew moments of heaviness. What distinguished them was not the absence of tiredness, but where they turned with it. When the heart turns back to Allah, it begins to remember who it is. It remembers that this life was never meant to fulfill every longing. It remembers that struggle does not mean abandonment. It remembers that Allah sees the unseen battles. The heart begins to breathe again, not because life becomes easy, but because it becomes meaningful. A tired heart is often a heart that has been patient for too long without renewal. Patience in Islam is not silent suffering, it is active reliance on Allah. When patience is disconnected from dua, from hope, from remembrance, it turns into exhaustion. Allah never asked you to be strong without Him. He asked you to trust Him. Returning to Allah does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like sitting quietly after prayer. Sometimes it looks like admitting you are struggling. Sometimes it looks like choosing sincerity over appearance. The heart does not need perfection, it needs honesty. A tired heart may feel like it has lost its light, but light is never gone, it is only covered. Dhikr wipes away the dust. Quran revives what feels dead. Salah reconnects what feels severed. Allah specializes in bringing life back to hearts that thought they had nothing left. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is that Allah is closer to your tired heart than you are. He knows its weight, its fears, its unspoken questions. He is not waiting for you to explain yourself. He is waiting for you to turn, because the moment you do, the heart begins to remember that it was never meant to walk this path alone, that every sigh was heard, that every moment of heaviness was recorded, that every return, no matter how delayed, is welcomed with a mercy wider than anything the heart has ever known, a mercy that meets you exactly where you are, carrying you forward gently, patiently, lovingly, back to the one who created your heart and understands it better than you ever could. What you ignore in the heart will eventually shape your life. The heart is not a silent observer that can be neglected without consequence. It is the command center of who you become, how you see the world, how you respond to pain, how you love, how you worship, how you trust Allah. When the heart is ignored, it does not remain neutral. It begins to collect what is left unattended, slowly, quietly, until those inner states become outward realities. We often believe that life is shaped by decisions we make externally, by careers we choose, people we marry, places we move to, goals we chase. But all of those choices are filtered through the heart. A heart filled with resentment will choose differently than a heart filled with contentment. A heart burdened with fear will walk a different path than a heart anchored in tawakkul. When the heart is neglected, it starts shaping your life without your awareness. Allah did not warn us about the corruption of the body or the intellect as much as He warned us about the corruption of the heart. Because a heart that is left unchecked does not stay empty. It fills itself with whatever it is exposed to most. If it is constantly exposed to comparison, it fills with envy. If it is constantly exposed to injustice without healing, it fills with bitterness. If it is constantly exposed to distraction, it fills with heedlessness. What you ignore does not disappear, it accumulates. Many people are surprised by who they have become. They say, "This is not me. I wasn't always like this." But the transformation did not happen overnight. It happened through years of ignoring small feelings, unaddressed wounds, unchecked intentions. A slight hardness here, a little insincerity there, a compromise that felt harmless at the time. The heart was shaping the life quietly. When you ignore the heart, you begin to live on autopilot. You pray, but your heart is absent. You speak, but your words lack sincerity. You interact, but you are guarded and defensive. Over time, this becomes your personality, your habits, your worldview. The heart teaches the limbs how to behave. A neglected heart produces a distracted life. The heart has needs just like the body. If you ignore hunger, the body weakens. If you ignore pain, illness spreads. The heart's hunger is for remembrance, meaning connection with Allah. When this hunger is ignored, the heart looks elsewhere. It seeks fulfillment in people, in achievements, in control, in validation. And when those things inevitably fail, the heart hardens to protect itself. Ignoring the heart often starts with ignoring discomfort. We avoid sitting with ourselves. We avoid silence because silence reveals what we have been pushing down. We stay busy not because we are productive, but because we are afraid of what the heart might say if we slowed down. But the heart always finds a way to speak. If not through reflection, then through anxiety. If not through tears, then through anger. If not through humility, then through arrogance. What you ignore in the heart becomes your lens. You begin to interpret everything through unresolved emotions. A person who ignored their need for healing sees harm where there may be none. A person who ignored their jealousy sees threats instead of blessings. A person who ignored their attachment to dunya sees loss as destruction instead of decree. The heart shapes perception before it shapes behavior. The Prophet taught us that in the body there is a piece of flesh, and if it is sound, the whole body is sound. This is not metaphorical advice. It is a reality. A heart that is neglected produces choices that look successful but feel empty. It produces relationships that exist but do not nourish. It produces worship that is performed but not transformative. Ignoring the heart also affects how you see Allah. A heart that carries unaddressed guilt begins to see Allah as distant. A heart that carries unhealed pain begins to question divine wisdom. A heart that carries pride begins to resist guidance. These are not intellectual issues, they are heart issues. And if they are ignored, they shape faith itself. Many people think Iman is lost through big sins or sudden disbelief. Often, Iman erodes through neglect, through letting the heart go dry, through allowing dunya to dominate attention, through postponing repentance because later feels safer. The heart adapts to what it is fed and what it is denied. If it is denied nourishment, it adapts to emptiness. What you ignore in the heart also shapes how you treat others. A heart that ignores its own wounds often projects them. It becomes harsh where it should be gentle. It becomes defensive where it should be open. It becomes controlling where it should trust. People are hurt not only by intentional harm, but by hearts that never healed. There are people who do not recognize themselves anymore. They are constantly irritated, constantly dissatisfied, constantly restless. They think the problem is life, but life did not change as much as the heart did. The heart accumulated neglect, and now it is expressing itself through behavior. Allah gives signs before hearts become sealed. Discomfort in worship, loss of sweetness in dua, lack of motivation for good, attraction to distractions that numb. These are not punishments, they are warnings. When ignored, the heart slowly reshapes the direction of your life away from meaning and towards survival. Ignoring the heart does not always look like doing bad things. Sometimes it looks like doing good things for the wrong reasons. Performing acts of worship without intention, seeking knowledge without humility, serving others without sincerity. The heart becomes a performer, not a servant. Over time, this performance creates burnout, resentment, and spiritual emptiness. The heart is meant to be cleaned regularly, through repentance, through dhikr, through Quran, through honest dua. When this cleaning is delayed, layers build up. The heart becomes less sensitive. What once felt wrong now feels normal. What once brought tears now brings indifference. And life follows that trajectory. What you ignore in the heart also shapes your resilience. A heart that is nurtured can endure hardship with patience. A heart that is neglected collapses under pressure. Two people can face the same test, and one grows closer to Allah while the other grows bitter. The difference is not the test. It is the state of the heart before it arrived. Many people try to fix their lives by fixing circumstances. New environment, new goals, new relationships. But they carry the same heart into every new chapter. And so the patterns repeat. Because the heart was never addressed, it continues to shape the same outcomes in different forms. The heart remembers what the mind tries to forget. You can convince yourself that you are fine, that things do not bother you, that you are over it. But the heart stores unresolved matters. And one day they surface in ways you do not expect, in reactions that surprise you, in decisions that do not align with your values. Allah invites us repeatedly in the Quran to reflect, to remember, to purify. These are hard actions. The heart cannot be purified accidentally. It requires attention. When that attention is withheld, the heart still grows, but it grows in whatever direction it is left leaning. Ignoring the heart also affects your akhirah, because the heart is what you will meet Allah with, not your samay, not your reputation, not your accomplishments. A heart that was neglected in dunya does not suddenly become sound without effort. Allah is merciful, but He also teaches us responsibility. The tragedy is not that hearts struggle. The tragedy is that hearts struggle alone while Allah is inviting them back. Every ignored reminder, every delayed repentance, every postponed moment of reflection shapes the next step you take. Slowly, consistently, invisibly. A heart that is cared for becomes a source of light. It guides decisions. It softens speech. It strengthens faith. A heart that is ignored becomes a source of confusion. It clouds judgment. It hardens reactions. It weakens trust. What you ignore in the heart today will become the patterns you live with tomorrow. The anger you dismiss becomes your tone. The envy you justify becomes your dissatisfaction. The emptiness you avoid becomes your restlessness. The sincerity you postpone becomes your regret. Allah, in His mercy, allows us to notice these shifts before it is too late. He allows us to feel discomfort so that we may turn back. The heart is always responding to how it is treated. It is either being shaped intentionally through remembrance and humility, or unintentionally through neglect and distraction. When you begin to attend to the heart, life does not suddenly become easy, but it becomes aligned. You begin to understand why you feel what you feel. You begin to choose differently. You begin to see Allah's wisdom where you once saw only loss. The heart becomes a guide instead of a burden. Ignoring the heart is never neutral. It is a decision that carries consequences. Attending to the heart is also a decision, one that slowly reshapes your life from the inside out, because the heart, when acknowledged, softened, and turned toward Allah, influences every step, every intention, every response, every choice, every relationship, every struggle, every moment of patience, every act of worship, every test that comes your way, quietly directing the course of your life according to what it has been fed, what it has been denied, and whether it was ever given the space to return to the one who created it.